Hey guys, what's happening? So we're back with more talk on Benjamin Percy's Predator vs. Wolverine, where this time around, it seems like we're getting a bit more of the reasoning behind why this Predator hates Wolverine so much. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so coming back, we pick up in the present day, continuing the main story of what's happening now, with Wolverine in Canada being hunted down by the Predator. Cause even with this series jumping throughout time with these multiple flashbacks, each of these issues tell a story that we see progress one issue after the other as they build up to the finale. And right now, when we come back to Wolverine, like we saw before, he's not doing too well. Because after the Predator chased him off a cliff, Wolverine just hid underneath to give his healing factor some time to mend him back together. And right now, he's just thinking to himself that he doesn't know how long he's been hanging on here, and whether that's been 10 minutes or a whole hour. And eventually Wolverine takes a chance, and he decides to climb out from his hiding spot, because based on his experience with the Predator over the years, he's noticed that the creature is stubborn but also impatient. So Logan makes the assumption that the Predator's moved on and it's looking for him elsewhere. But while Logan's climbing out from his hiding spot, his foot slips, causing rocks to stumble down the cliff, and this is enough to get him spotted. And just like that, the hunt is on again, as beams shoot at Wolverine, forcing him to jump off the cliff, falling 200 feet into the river. And as he does, once again, he's just thinking to himself as far as what's happening and what he's going to do. And it's right here where we find him thinking about how ever since his bones were infused with adamantium, maneuvering underwater has become extremely difficult to him. And with that in mind, it doesn't help that right now, after falling in the water, he's quickly pinned by the avalanche of rocks that came down just behind him, leaving him helpless as the Predator closes in. And I also want to point out that this time, as we get a better look at the Predator in the current day, we see that it has the 5 claw marks on its face, just like we saw at the end of the first issue, which going forward, narratively, this makes it easier for us as the reader to point them out in a group of other Predators for a portion of the story to come, so just keep that in mind. And just after this, we return to Wolverine's Team X flashback, where much like we saw before, Gruul was the first to go, since one of the Predators caught him by surprise, tagging him with the net gun, which for the rest of Team X, this was confirmation of danger close. And from here, with the 5 Predators moving in, led by the one with the scarred mask, who Wolverine encountered roughly 60 years ago, he sees Wolverine wearing the Shuriken around his neck, which is the same one that we saw the Predator throw that got caught in the back of Logan's leg. And the way that he explains the reasoning behind him keeping it, because in a way it comes off like it's the same for the Predator, with it keeping its mask and holding on to those scars as a reminder. But for Logan, since he can't keep physical scars, instead for him, something like this Shuriken he would keep as a reminder, a relic of the pain he experienced. And I imagine because getting their minds wiped between missions was a regular thing for Team X, holding on to this Shuriken served as a reminder for the feeling at the time, more so than the memories that wouldn't come back to him until much later. But right away when he sees the Predator, he knows that they're connected, and it has something to do with this Shuriken somehow. So he looks up at the Predator and he's like, "You want this, don't you?" And Wolverine throws it. And even though it misses the Predator from his past, dude moves out the way and it hits the other one behind him. And the crazy thing with seeing this is Wolverine's able to throw it, have it come back, and catch it. And the reason this is wild to see is because for Predators, Shurikens are similar to smart discs, because they both can be used for melee or thrown at a target, and they both have tech built into them to increase the chances of it hitting their target. But more often than not, you'll see a Predator use a smart disc than you will see it use a Shuriken, because many of the smart discs, they can be piloted, they're more accurate to throw, they're lighter, and there's a higher probability of it returning without using the smart tracking in instances where the Predator's tracker may be damaged. So overall, smart discs are way more versatile and more commonly used, because cutting wise, they can still split somebody in half or take down a tree. But in the case of Shurikens, they got those 6 long blades, so for melee use, they can make a clean cut through something larger, like a xenomorph. So it's arguably better in that use case. But when it comes down to throwing a Shuriken, because of the 6 long blades, there's a significantly lower chance that the Shuriken will return, because more often than not, it'll get lodged into something, like in the Alien vs Predator movie. But sometimes this will be what a Predator wants. like in the 2018 Predator film, when one was used to lift the target and pin it to the wall, or the inside of a van I think it was. But I say that to say this: if you see a Predator, throw a shuriken, hit a target, and then catch it, it's very much considered to be a Yautja flex. Cause like we saw in the last issue, this shuriken didn't originally belong to the Predator Wolverine fought roughly 60 years prior to Team X, cause he found it on another dead Predator when he arrived on Earth, picked it up, started tossing it around, and sure, yeah, he was able to hit a target with it, but at the time you could see his frustration when he didn't get the results he wanted and went back to the weapons he brought with him. So yeah, I say all that to say this: jumping forward to this point, to see Wolverine use this shuriken, throw it, have it make contact, and then catch it with no targeting system, it's wild to see. So I just imagine these Predators feel some type of way about that. But just after this, Wolverine tells Maverick, Sabretooth, and Jackson all to fall back, but Sabretooth is just like F that, and he lets off with the minigun, which is precisely what I would expect from Sabretooth in this time era. The only thing missing here is him toting on a stogie. But here's the thing, back when him and Wolverine were on Team X, there were times when Sabretooth would just kill someone to get under Wolverine's skin and make sure that he wasn't growing a conscience out in the field, which is crazy. This guy was an animal. But the reason that Wolverine's telling his team to fall back, it's not because he's the type to run away from a fight, cause any other day he'd run into trouble head first, but because right now they're fighting an invisible enemy who Wolverine only halfway remembers, and it's got him like, whoa, we need to create some distance, think this one out, and come up with a strategy for these things. But of course, for Sabretooth, he's like, if I shoot everything, I'ma hit something. And it only leads to one of these Predators sneaking up behind him and stabbing him in the back with a combi stick, which would have been lethal to most. But to this Predator's surprise, Sabretooth just turns around and pulls him into it. But as Wolverine, Maverick, and Jackson are falling back in hopes of getting somewhere where they can regroup, Maverick is asking Logan what these things are, cause he saw one of them back there use its gauntlet to ping the weapon that Wolverine's been wearing. So Maverick's putting 2 and 2 together cause he just figures that Wolverine's gotta know something. But of course, after all the mind wipes between their different missions over the years, as far as the memories go, Wolverine's only got bits and pieces. But as they're making their way, one of these Predators catches Jackson. And I mean, I'm not gonna say it, but it's unfortunate, cause just seconds later, her body falls with no head. So Wolverine picks up her gun, and him and Maverick just start shooting into the trees, as a bomb that was still attached to Jackson's body goes off, sending a piece of debris into Maverick's leg, so now he's not able to walk. But as Wolverine's taking a look and telling Maverick that he's lucky cause it missed his femoral artery by an inch, Maverick sees this Predator jump down and come after Wolverine, and in the nick of time he's able to light this thing up, just before it gets to carving into these guys, which now gives the two of them a little bit of time, as Wolverine picks up Maverick and heads for cover while telling him to keep his finger on the trigger and watch their six. And right here, as the other Predators see the two of them head for cover, we get this moment where we're shown an example of how on the flip side Predators handle one another when they find one of their own injured or left immobilized by their prey before the hunt is finished. Cause right here, the two of them just killed a guy, and it's something that we rarely see. But from what I'm aware, a Predator will only kill another one in an instance like this where they're considered a failure, or if one of them has gone rogue and considered to be a fugitive, where in that case they're labeled as a bad blood and they're just taken out because of whatever crime or treason they committed. And of course you have your other exceptions, because they have had civil disputes on things like whether a predator should mix their DNA with other species, and whether that's right or wrong, or if they all should be purebloods. But I don't think this story is diving too much into any of that. But right here with Wolverine and Maverick making their way inside of this temple, they find a stockpile of explosives that belong to the general, which they knew about heading into this, with it being part of the reason why they came here to kill him. But come to find out, the general, along with what's left of his men, were laying low in here too. And when he sees Wolverine and Maverick, he knows that they came here to kill him. So Wolverine's just like, okay, you know why we're here, then go ahead and shoot. But instead the general tells him that those things out there cut through his men like machetes through grass. He doesn't know what they are or why they're here, but what he does know is that they're a bigger threat than either of them have faced. So he makes a smart call, and he more or less tells Wolverine that their best bet is to put their differences aside and work together. And Wolverine agrees, but he tells the general that they're doing it his way. And then about an hour later, with there being no sign of the last two predators making any moves, one of the general's men is like, hey, you think they left? And right away, Buddy catches a plasma cannon shot to the dome. as the other 2 soldiers who are left just get rushed by the last 2 predators, who are showing off their skills with the wrist shields, bouncing back bullets for headshots, while the other one's throwing the shield and cutting a dude in half. It's wild. And after killing these soldiers, the predator, who's known Wolverine for some time, uses his gauntlet once again to ping the location of the Shuriken, and as soon as him and the other predators see where it's at, they let off plasma shots. But after, when they go in closer to investigate, they only see the Shuriken there, as opposed to more bodies, and right away the whole stockpile of bombs in the temple starts beeping, just before they detonate and blow the place sky high. And Wolverine recalls at the time when Professor Thornton flew in via chopper to extract Team X from this location in South America. Professor Thornton wanted a confirmation on the kill, and Wolverine assured him that everyone and everything was dead down there, which on one hand was him staying true to his agreement with the general so they can get out of there alive. But also at the time, this is Wolverine genuinely believing that he killed the last 2 predators. But as it turns out, at least one of them made it out alive. And after this, we then jump forward again, years later to Alberta, Canada, at the Weapon X facility, where at this point in time in Wolverine's past, we all know this is where he gets his adamantium. And with the Predator showing up here, it's just got my excitement level through the roof. But when it gets here, we see it take down these guards, and it's squeezing what seems to be xenomorph blood all over one of these guys' face. It's killing any and everyone it's seen across the Weapon X facility, making its way deeper inside until eventually it finds Wolverine, who's recently had his bones bonded with adamantium. And I imagine because Wolverine is pretty much helpless at this point, the Predator's just gonna decide to walk away, because it's rare that they would kill someone unarmed, and it's pretty much a taboo to kill someone in their sleep. So from here, with us knowing that Wolverine is approaching a moment in his life where he's unleashed in a very feral and untamed state, I am just hoping that we soon get to see this Predator face off with that version of Wolverine before we head any further in Wolverine's lifetime. Cause to me, both the Team X time period and the fresh out of Weapon X time period, those are the top 2 moments from Wolverine's past that I want to see the Predator go to. So I got my fingers crossed for us seeing the Predator face the real animal that Wolverine is. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/DopeSpill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.